There are moments when the world grows quiet around you, not because life has become peaceful, but because something within you has begun to question everything. You feel it in the silence, a weight, a pause, a sense that you are standing alone before something vast and uncertain. And in those moments, the mind begins to whisper, "Why me? Why this struggle? Why this burden?" But listen carefully. That voice, though familiar, is not the truth. It is only a reflection of fear, shaped by the unknown. You are not alone. You have never been alone. Long before you stood where you stand now, countless others faced the same darkness. They felt the same doubt. They endured the same storms. They carried grief, uncertainty, and fear in their hearts. And still, they moved forward. They were not stronger than you. They were not chosen. They were simply human, just like you. You are part of something ancient and unbroken, a quiet chain of endurance stretching across time. Every hardship you face has been faced before. Every fear that visits your mind has walked through the thoughts of others. Every moment of weakness has been known, understood, and overcome. This is not meant to diminish your struggle. It is meant to remind you of your place within it. Because when you understand this, something shifts. The burden becomes lighter, not because it disappears, but because you realize it is shared. You are not walking into the unknown. You are walking a path that has been walked before, a path of discipline, a path of patience, a path of quiet strength. And within you, there is something deeper than fear. There is reason. There is will. There is a calm center that cannot be shaken unless you allow it to be. This is where your journey begins. Not by escaping hardship, but by understanding it. Not by resisting life, but by aligning yourself with its nature. You do not walk alone. And once you truly see that, you will never see your struggles the same way again. Consider the nature of your thoughts. They arise without warning. They speak with conviction. They demand your attention as if they were truths carved into stone. But they are not. They are impressions, temporary movements within the mind. And yet, how often do you follow them without question? A single thought appears. This is too much. I cannot endure this. I am not enough. And from that thought, emotion grows. From emotion, reaction. From reaction, consequence. All from something that was never certain to begin with. This is where your power lies. Not in controlling the world, not in shaping every outcome, but in choosing how you respond to what appears before you. There is a space between what happens and what you do next. In that space, there is freedom. You may not control the storm, but you can decide how you stand within it. You may not prevent loss, but you can determine whether it breaks you or refines you. You may not silence fear, but you can refuse to obey it. This is the discipline that defines strength. Not loud, not visible, but constant. A quiet refusal to surrender your mind to chaos. You must learn to pause. When anger rises, pause. When fear speaks, pause. When doubt clouds your judgment, pause. In that pause, you regain yourself. You remember that you are not your first reaction. You are not your impulse. You are not the storm within you. You are the one who observes it. And from that observation comes clarity. You begin to see what is within your control and what is not. You cannot control the opinions of others. You cannot control the passage of time. You cannot control the outcomes that life delivers. But you can control your judgment. You can control your effort. You can control your character. This is where peace is found. Not in shaping the world to your desires, but in shaping yourself to meet the world as it is. Many suffer not because life is harsh, but because they resist what cannot be changed. They fight reality. They argue with what already exists. They demand certainty from a world that offers none. And in doing so, they exhaust themselves. You do not have to live this way. You can release the need to control everything. You can accept what stands before you, not as defeat, but as truth. And from that acceptance, you gain strength. Because when you stop wasting energy on what is beyond you, you reclaim the energy needed to master what is within you. This is the turning point, where frustration becomes focus, where resistance becomes discipline, where suffering begins to transform. Do not misunderstand. This path is not easy. There will be days when your mind rebels, days when emotion overwhelms reason, days when you forget everything you have learned. That is part of the journey. Even those who came before you stumbled. Even they questioned themselves. Even they felt the weight of doubt pressing against their resolve. But they returned. Again and again. They returned. To discipline. To patience. To clarity. And so must you. Not perfectly, but consistently. You are not asked to be without emotion. You are asked to not be ruled by it. You are not asked to avoid hardship. You are asked to meet it with strength. You are not asked to be fearless. You are asked to act despite fear. This is the quiet power within you. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition, but it is there, waiting for you to choose it. And each time you do, each time you pause instead of react, each time you endure instead of retreat, each time you act with reason instead of impulse, you strengthen it. Slowly, steadily, unshakably. You begin to change. Not outwardly at first. The world may not notice, but within you, something becomes solid. A foundation that cannot easily be broken. And from that foundation, a new way of living emerges. One where you are no longer carried by every wave, but anchored in something deeper. You begin to understand. Life is not against you. It is not testing you out of cruelty. It is simply unfolding. And your role is not to control its course, but to navigate it with wisdom. You do not walk alone. Others have stood where you stand. Others have felt what you feel. And they endured, not by escaping life, but by mastering themselves within it. And so can you. There will come a time when the weight feels unbearable, not because the burden is greater than before, but because your strength feels distant. In those moments, the mind searches for escape. It tells you to withdraw, to avoid, to surrender. It tells you that rest is the same as retreat, that silence is the same as defeat, that stillness is weakness. But this is not true. There is strength in stillness. There is power in restraint. There is wisdom in silence. You must learn the difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up is the abandonment of effort. Letting go is the release of what was never yours to control. When you cling to outcomes, you suffer. When you demand certainty, you suffer. When you insist that life must follow your expectations, you suffer. But when you release these demands, something changes. You become lighter. Not because life has softened, but because you have stopped carrying what was never meant for you. Consider this carefully. You cannot control whether others understand you. You cannot control whether your efforts are recognized. You cannot control whether the future unfolds as you hope. But you can control whether you act with integrity. You can control whether you persist with discipline. You can control whether you remain grounded in reason. This is enough. More than enough. Because a life guided by these principles does not depend on external validation. It stands on its own. There is a quiet dignity in this, a strength that does not seek approval, a calm that does not depend on circumstances. And yet, this path requires endurance, not for a moment, not for a season, but for a lifetime. There will be pain, loss will visit you, failure will test you, time will take from you what you wish to keep. This is not injustice. This is the nature of existence. To resist it is to suffer twice. To accept it is to suffer only once. And within that acceptance, there's freedom. You begin to see suffering differently, not as something to be avoided at all costs, but as something that can shape you. Pain can refine your character. Loss can deepen your understanding. Difficulty can strengthen your resolve, but only if you allow it. If you resist, it hardens you. If you accept, it transforms you. This is the choice before you. Every moment, every challenge, every hardship. You are being shaped, either by resistance or by discipline. Choose discipline. Choose patience when anger rises. Choose understanding when frustration appears. Choose effort when the mind seeks comfort, not because it is easy, but because it is right. And over time, something remarkable happens. The things that once shook you begin to lose their power. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once seemed impossible becomes routine. You become steady, not unfeeling, not indifferent, but grounded. Like a tree rooted deep within the earth, you may bend with the wind, but you do not break. This is resilience, not the absence of struggle, but the ability to endure it without losing yourself. And in this endurance, you begin to understand something greater. You see that your struggles are not isolated events. They are part of a shared human experience. Others have faced loss and continued. Others have endured hardship and grown stronger. Others have stood where you stand, and they did not fall. You are connected to them, not by circumstance, but by nature. This is what it means to not walk alone. It is not that others are physically beside you. It is that their strength lives within the path you now walk. Their endurance echoes in your effort. Their resilience is reflected in your persistence. You are continuing what they began. And one day, others will continue what you endure now. Your strength will become part of the same chain. Your resilience will become a quiet guide for someone who feels alone. This is the legacy of endurance. It does not seek recognition. It does not demand acknowledgement, but it exists in every act of discipline, in every moment of patience, in every decision to stand firm when it would be easier to fall. You are contributing to it, even now. So when the weight feels heavy, remember this: you are not the first to carry it, and you will not be the last. Others have endured, and so will you. Not because you must prove something, but because it is within your nature to endure. Trust this, even when doubt speaks louder than reason, even when the path is unclear, even when you feel alone. You are not alone. You have never been.